This shit more than a game.
Perfect. Perfect.
I was tagged in a few posts this past weekend. There was a entity that did the top NFL players of all time, and Drew Brees was in the top 30, which I can accept. I actually wasn't mad at that. But if you actually look at the overall list, you would see that, which a lot of Saints fans noticed, that even though Drew Brees made the top 30 of the best NFL players of all time, according to this national publication, he was not in the top 10 quarterbacks. There was actually 10 other quarterbacks listed from 29 to number one above Drew Brees, apparently. And, I'm like all Saints fans. I saw that. I was a little annoyed. I was ready to kind of go use my platform that I have on social media to call out that publication and say, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? How can you look at anybody with a straight eye if you are a football fan and say that Drew Brees is not a top 10 quarterback of all time? But I stopped myself and I say to myself, I've been arguing on Drew Brees' behalf for feels like 20 years now. This is the week that Drew Brees is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. This is the week that Drew Brees' legacy is being amplified, not just in New Orleans and in Louisiana by multiple other platforms as well. And I said, I don't want to spend Drew Brees' Hall of Fame week, which I am dubbing Drew Brees Appreciation Week, wasting any energy arguing against people who have already made their mind up for whatever reason that Drew Brees is not a top 10 quarterback, or this or that quarterback is better than Drew Brees, whatever. I said, I'm going to use this week, this Drew Brees Appreciation Week, to celebrate Drew Brees, to not use any of my energy, not use any of my emotions to argue with people who don't matter. Because history is history, the numbers are the numbers, and data is data. And Drew Brees is to be celebrated. So this week, we're going to celebrate Drew Brees. And tonight on the John Barnes Show, we are going to celebrate Drew Brees. And I want all of you guys to understand one thing, and at least know one thing, though. It's going to be up to us in New Orleans and in Louisiana to not let history rewrite Drew Brees' legacy. Because I promise you guys, the national media and people outside of the Louisiana bubble, they are going to try to rewrite Drew Brees' legacy and say that this quarterback was better, that quarterback was better. I mean, we're living in times now where I guarantee you, they're going to say, oh, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and all these guys were better than Drew Brees. Okay. It's going to be up to us from here until eternity to not let them rewrite history, to not let them have a revisionist history about Drew Brees. I'm up for that challenge. I hope you are too. We're going to do it by tonight, celebrating Drew Brees as he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame this upcoming weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the John Barnes Show, where this shit more than a game.
From the stands, I'm invested. Every loss served like a lesson, we tested. Front porch talk turn to Sunday confessions. From dome to the block, it's all one connection. From Eric to Drew, Alvin to Cam, talk down on my squad. Boy, I be damned. I rap for the ones that never got fame, still yelling loud. This shit more than a game. Cause y'all know why? This shit more than a game. It ain't no lie. This shit more than a game. You know that's right. This shit more than a game. And y'all know why? This shit more than a game. Now I got Lil John sitting on my knee. teaching them young what it mean to believe. This bigger than scores, it's what we became. He gon' know off top, this shit more than a game. Clarissa in the back giving me all types of stress, but deep down she know the husband the best. She knows he's crazy, she know he's mean, but she know the kid 100% New Orleans. And y'all know why, this shit more than a game. It ain't no lie, this shit more than a game. You know that's right, this shit more than a game. And y'all know why, this shit more than a game. Yeah, when you see Jono scream, this shit more than a game. And when you see a Falcons fan, just call out for Jonathan. And yeah, this shit more than a game. New Orleans know this shit more than a game. Louisiana know this shit more than a game. Texas know this shit more than a game. Whole world know this shit more than a game. Y'all know why.
This shit more than a game.
And y'all know how we got to start off each and every John Barnes show in honor of Drew Brees, in honor of the great Taysom Hill. This shit more than a game in the chat right now, because tonight is a night on the John Barnes show of celebration. Now, we are going to talk about what's been going on in training camp because, you know, I guess I'm thankful as a Saints content creator. The Saints have not had a shortage of content for us content creators. I can say that. With only 1 week of training camp down, there has been a lot that is happening, not only with the Saints, but with the NFC South as well. So we are going to get to that. We're absolutely going to get to that. I even see Pro P kind of alluded to it with the Atlanta Falcons. And they had, I'm not even trying to make jokes, but a typical Atlanta Falcons fandom where, you know, their biggest high is met with their lowest low sometimes. And that kind of must be how Falcons fans felt today with the news they got this morning and then the news that they got this evening. So we're going to talk about all of the ongoings in the NFC South and the Saints training camp later on in the show. But of course, tonight, again, as Drew Brees gets inducted into the Hall of Fame this Saturday, I want to use this show to celebrate Drew Brees because what an honor it was for us as Saints fans to be able to say that we witnessed, whether the national media wants to recognize it or not, we recognized a top 10 quarterback of all time in our lifetime. I would even say, and I'm biased, but I don't give a damn, a top 5 quarterback of all time. You know, I'm sorry, but I don't see how it is so definitive that people think that, you know, in respect to the Dan Marinos, the Brett Favres, even the John Elway, respect to them. And, you know, and I know I'm biased when it comes to this part, but what did they do so drastically better than Drew Brees? I mean, Brees has the records, you know, because the funny thing is if those guys had the records that Drew Brees has, all of the opposing fans and national media will be putting that in our face and saying, how can you say that this guy isn't better than Drew Brees? Look at his numbers. Okay, but when we do it, it's always an excuse. Well, he played in the Superdome and all that. Whatever. We're celebrating Drew Brees tonight. But don't forget, Saints fans, again, that the national media, opposing fans, a lot of these people are going to try to rewrite history 20 years from, not even right now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. People are going to try to rewrite history and say, Drew Brees wasn't a top 10 quarterback. He wasn't this good. You know, these guys were better, all that. It is up to us. It is up to us. The This Shit More Than a Game community, New Orleans, Louisiana, it is up to us to make sure that we do not let that happen. I mean, the game footage is the game footage. History is history. That is the data. We got that on our side. But again, you know how people go. As time moves on, all right, well, was Drew Brees that good? I mean, he was only 6 feet. He played in the Superdome he didn't get to play in bad weather like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady did. So he can't really prove himself as a top man. We ain't got time for all that. What we have time for tonight is to celebrate Drew Brees. And I want to ask a question to you guys as we use this episode to celebrate Drew Brees. My first question is, what was y'all's initial reaction when the Saints signed Drew Brees? Because I've told y'all my reaction many times, but if the algorithm just happens to bring people onto my show tonight, I'll retell the story of how I wasn't necessarily thrilled, to say the least, about signing Drew Brees. This was in 2006. He was coming off of an up and down career in San Diego, and his shoulder was torn to shreds, right? So, I mean, it wasn't like we knew we were getting a Hall of Fame quarterback. We knew we were getting the top 5, top 10 quarterback of all time. We were kind of looking at it like, okay, you know, we've seen his highs, but we've also seen his lows, and he's not, you know, Tom Brady. He's not Peyton Manning. Why are the Saints breaking the bank for this guy. That's how I felt. I also was a bit upset because the Saints owned the number 2 pick in the draft in 2006. Now, we all know what history is. The Texans ended up taking Mario Williams. We take Reggie Bush, the beautiful time in New Orleans, right? But before then, in free agency, we did not know that the Texans were taking Mario Williams. We all assumed, the whole world assumed that Reggie Bush was going number 1. I mean, I remember I was so mad week 17 of the 2005 season when the Texans were playing a close game, but they wind up losing because I was like, oh my God, we might get Reggie Bush. If we get the number 1 pick, for sure we get Reggie Bush. The Texans ended up losing the game, and I was like, crap, the Texans got the number 1 pick. So much for our Reggie Bush dreams, right? And we know, if you remember, Reggie Bush was the most hyped up college prospect of my lifetime, at least. I don't know how old some of you guys are. For sure, for my lifetime, the most hyped up college football prospect of all time. So, it was like, damn, well, there goes our Reggie Bush dreams because there ain't no way he's not going number 1. So when free agency came in March and April, nobody was thinking, there's a chance that Reggie Bush goes number 2. We all assumed, like the rest of the world, that Reggie Bush was going to the Texans. So me, I'm like, okay, well, with the number 2 pick, I'm talking myself into the quarterbacks because it was a very hyped up draft given the star power in college football that year, led by Reggie Bush, but also Vince Schoen and Matt Leinart. We all remember the classic, the greatest college football game I've ever seen, USC versus Texas. Texas Rose Bowl game. Vince Schoen and Matt Leinart had performances. Matt Leinart was a Heisman winner. Vince Schoen, great quarterback college careers. So I'm talking myself into winning them 2. I'm like, well, sure, okay, we ain't got Reggie, but we about to get the most valuable position in quarterback, and we are going to either be led by Matt Leinart or Vince Schoen for the next decade or so. I'm not thinking about Drew. I'm like, Drew Brees just broke his goddamn shoulder. He ain't in my vision. I'm thinking about Vince Schoen or Matt Leinart. A football fan, which I was probably more of a diehard football fan, but not a diehard. I didn't know who Sean Payne was. So when we hired Sean Payne, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, Mike Morris was right there. We were going to go for offensive mind, but guys, 2006 Jono was a dumbass. I'll tell y'all that. Going by the takes that I had, 2006 Jono was a dumbass. Thank God Mickey Loomis was in charge, and of course his legacy will forever be concrete as we see during the tough years because he brought in Sean Payne and Drew Brees in 2006. But I was not excited about Drew Brees, even up until as this regular season was going along. I remember week 1 we beat the Browns. Brees didn't have like a classic Brees games. It was one of those grit and grind type games that we won. And then in week 2, I don't know if y'all remember. Hopefully, I'm not showing my age too much. We were playing the Green Bay Packers, and we went down pretty big to the Packers early on in that game. And Drew Brees did not have a good first half. I believe he turned the ball over 2 or 3 times with fumbles and interceptions. And I remember I went on the great SaintsReport.com, which is still kicking in 2026. Shout out to Saints Report because there ain't many message boards and forums were able to survive the Reddit/social media epidemic that hit the internet post 2006. But Saints Report is still kicking. But for the longest time, if you are on the internet and YouTube wasn't a thing yet, social media wasn't a thing yet, Reddit wasn't a thing yet, you wanted to talk Saints football, you went to SaintsReport.com. If you still want to talk Saints football, you go to SaintsReport.com. So I was on SaintsReport.com, probably way too damn young to be on a message board, but either way, the shit more than a game. And the game day thread for the Saints versus the Packers in week 2, after Drew Brees turned the ball over the second or third time, I vividly remember, I put in a game day thread, we could have kept Aaron Brooks for all this. I was not a fan of Drew. I was like, this dude turning the ball over. I said, y'all was getting mad at Aaron Brooks for all this. Why not Drew? We got this guy for $60 million doing the same thing. And that was the last time that I ever critiqued Drew Brees because the Saints ended up coming back against the Packers and winning the game, and Drew Brees played his ass off. Of course, the next week was the Superdome return where Steve Gleason blocked the punt. The rest was history. Went to the NFC Championship game that season. I never questioned Drew Brees again. But for the longest, I was not the biggest fan, I guess, of the Drew Brees signing. And thank God that I am a fan. Like I always still say to this day, I am a fan. I am not a media analyst or anything like that. Thank God I was just a fan. So what was you guys' reaction though? Because very few can say, oh yeah, I knew Drew Brees was going to be that guy for us. Or you could have been excited. I'm not saying that some fans weren't allowed to not say that they weren't excited. Of course, I mean, again, Drew Brees was a Pro Bowler when we signed him. It wasn't like he was just like some journeyman QB. Like he showed what he could be, but he was coming off the shoulder injury. He had been benched multiple times in San Diego. It wasn't like we were getting Drew Brees. We were getting like the he could be a good quarterback, Drew Brees, but a lot has to go right. And Lord knows, as Saints fans, we were like, rarely does it go right in New Orleans if you're going to be a quarterback trying to get your career a second act. So, what was y'all's reaction to when we signed Drew Brees? Let me see if some of you guys already answered in the comments. Brute Saints said that he was 6 years old when they signed Drew Brees. Um, Sandra says, and Sandra, you were on this shit more than a scoreboard this week for that lovely, lovely profile photo you have. She says, I really don't remember how I felt. I was still haunted by the events following Hurricane Katrina. I guess I was looking for hope any and everywhere. And yes, we all know, I being a Katrina victim, if you will, myself, that a lot of us were just trying to rebuild our lives. Right now, I'm just a high school kid. I'm not facing the brunt, I guess, of what, I guess the grown-ups at the time were facing, having to rebuild houses while keeping their kids at bay. So, I know, and I'm not to discredit what any kid or high school kid, middle school kid, elementary kid was going through with Katrina, but I guess I use this very loosely, blessed that, I wasn't a homeowner for Katrina, a car owner or anything like that. I lost my home, but I'm not the one who was paying the bills at the time. It was my mom and dad. I didn't have a car at the time, so I didn't lose all of these things. So, I'm just kind of keeping my, with a typical high school kid going to college, trying to get all that together, while the mom and dad and all the fellow grown-ups in New Orleans are just trying to rebuild their lives and, see if New Orleans is actually going to be a city that can be livable in the future. So, very, very common and very, very understandable if some fans were like, look, I was just kind of checked out on the Saints, John. I was following what they were doing, but I had so much going on in my life that I wasn't able to be as in tune with the team at the time as I usually am because shit, my house was destroyed. But that goes to the Drew Brees story of when he signed with the Saints and Sean Payne was trying to give him a tour of the city and he was trying to show Drew Brees the areas of the city that were rebuilt, but he took a wrong turn. He ended up being in an area where everything was destroyed. And Drew Brees has infamously told the story many times. They passed up a house where a tugboat was flipped upside down in a driveway. And Drew looked at his wife and they both just kind of had that feeling like, I think this is where we are supposed to be. Like, I think God is calling us to be in the city of New Orleans. Now, obviously, there were other factors. He wanted to go to Miami. I don't think he's ever made that. He's hidden from that fact that Miami was the number one choice for him. But he also realized that Miami was kind of having cold feet towards signing him, where the Saints were all in. They were like, hey, we trust that your shoulder's going to get repaired. Where the Dolphins were like, yeah, we kind of trust, but we want to run like multiple tests and we want to get multiple opinions. And Drew eventually realized, look, Miami doesn't want me. And Miami also made the choice for him, kind of, because they say, well, we're going with the direction of Dante Culpepper, one of the biggest what-if stories, if you will, in football history. Because if Saban signs Drew Brees, if Saban says, I don't care what the doctors say, I want Drew Brees as my quarterback, does Saban go to Alabama? I mean, you would think that Drew Brees is going to still be Drew Brees in Miami, right? He's going to turn into this Hall of Fame quarterback. So why would Saban leave if he's like, I got Drew Brees as my quarterback? I'm going to stop be here. And maybe Miami wins a Super Bowl or two. I don't think the NFL will want to screw Miami the way they like to screw in New Orleans. Does Alabama become a dynasty now because Saban is with Drew Brees in Miami? It's one of the biggest what-if stories of all time. One of the best stories for Saints fans of all times, right? Because Drew could have seen the city ravaged and say, I don't want to come here. Like, look at this city. I don't even know if this team is going to have this city's going to have the team in 5 years because we don't know if this city is going to be able to support the team given what Hurricane Katrina has done to the city. One of the greatest sports stories of all time. I'm biased. I feel like the story doesn't get enough love in this day and age. We saw recently America celebrated the 250th anniversary. And I was watching a special where ESPN was doing the greatest American sports moments ever. And of course, they didn't have Steve Gleason blocking the punt in the Superdome or, the Saints story, which is, in my opinion, and I might be biased, but I don't think I'm biased. Let me know if y'all think I'm biased. That's one of the greatest sports stories. The 2006 Saints is one of the greatest sports stories of all time. Steve Gleason blocking that punt where the Superdome went crazy. That was like our moment where we were like, wow, for one moment, the whole city felt happy again. One of the greatest sports stories of all time. Not a mention of it this past summer when ESPN and ABC did a America 250, the greatest sports stories of the American times, but guarantee if that happens in New York, if the New York gets hit, God, they did get hit with the September 11th. Of course, when they were showing that, they were showing all the stuff after post 9/11, how sports heal New York, right? But it's all little old New Orleans. Yeah, we remember that happened. But we'll mention it on our next special about the greatest sports stories. If anybody ever tells you that big market bias is not real, I promise you it's real. If Drew Brees had the same career that he had with the New York Giants, they are putting him in the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. They're putting him with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. If Drew Brees has the career with the Dallas Cowboys that he had with the Saints, they are putting him top 2 all time. Drew Brees, the best. He might be better than Brady and Manning together. I guarantee you, do not ever let them tell you that big market bias does not exist, which is why I tell you guys again, it is up to us Saints fans to not let them rewrite history when it comes to Drew Brees' legacy. Let me get to some more of y'all comments. Hopefully y'all answered. Devin says, I was not with Drew in San Diego. He was unproven. He had a Danian Tomlinson in the backfield, and he calls Antonio Gates shitty, but I mean, Antonio Gates is the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Antonio Gates used to screw you over in fantasy football. Well, I ain't gonna ever call Antonio Gates shitty. My guy, Jonathan Belt, I'm glad he's watching the show right now because it's the funny story is that we were, and JB, I don't know if you I don't recall it. My memory is shot in old age. But you on a senior trip with us because when I found out about Reggie Bush being skipped by the Texans, it was actually our senior trip. We was in Orlando, Florida, Universal Studios. I would never forget it. I probably should say this for like a Reggie Bush appreciation show. But and I remember this is when social media does not exist or whatever. So you find out your news through text messages was existing and whatnot. And the smartphone was not invented, but the T-Mobile Sidekick was invented. And some of these flip phones did have internet access. So you were able to get internet, not the internet these kids had where you could do anything on your goddamn smartphone, but where you could kind of get like notifications of stuff or just like news tidbits, like this happened. You can't read about it, but you could just see that this happened. And I remember we got the news that the Houston Tech, I think it was my brother who texted me or emailed me. I don't remember how smartphones were back then, that the Texans were skipping on Reggie Bush. And we were at our graduation bash and we were euphoric. We were like, holy shit, wait, what? The Saints are getting Reggie Bush tomorrow? It was an amazing night. It was an amazing night. And then I remember the next day, Saturday morning, before we went to Universal Studios again, we went to one of the restaurants outside the theme park and we watched the draft to see Reggie Bush get drafted. And they showed the graphic of, the Saints' new offense. And it was Drew, Reggie, Deuce, Joe Horn, Dante Stallworth. Now we know what happened with Dante. And boy, I was like, wow, the Saints might actually be something. Good times, man. Good times, Jonathan Bell. Sandra says, I'm on point. Was just hoping and praying that life will soon resemble a normal one. And thankfully, it has. God is good. No Chop Podcast says, I thought Drew Brees was a solid signing at the time. I wasn't sure how far he was going to lead us, but I knew what type of QB he was. And it only took him 4 years to get us to the Super Bowl. It only took him 1 year to get us to the NFC Championship, which we all thought at the time that, never mind the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship is a pipe dream. Again, this is why, this is why parity is keen in NFL and why fans always have hope year after year, why the dumbass Falcons fans always have hope. It's because we've seen it with our own eyes in New Orleans. We saw the Saints in 2005 with no home go 3-13, one of the worst teams in the league because of Hurricane Katrina, amongst other things. The next year, Drew Brees had us in the NFC Championship just that fast, which is why you probably see, for all you Falcons fans in the chat, y'all should be used to it, but with y'all fan base, but you see our fan base because we have a little hope that, hey, maybe Toddy Shuck is going to be that guy. Hey, maybe we will make the playoffs. I know we haven't been a good team the past few years, but we saw ourselves from 2005 to 2006 how a team can flip the switch and be drafting top 2 overall to being 2 quarters away from a Super Bowl. It was incredible, man. 2006, I will never forget. What a year. What a year. And then we came up short, of course. We lost to Chicago. And you just left that. I remember I was heartbroken, boy. God damn, I was heartbroken. And you felt confident, right? Because you were like, okay, that was our first year with Brees and Reggie. Like, we gonna show these guys. We gonna make the Super Bowl again. But you also kind of had that feeling like, oh boy, you just have in the back of your mind. I hope that wasn't our last time. Like, I hope that wasn't our best chance at it. I remember we played the Giants on Christmas Eve. We whooped their ass too. Jeremy Shockey actually just came from out the shadows and interviewed with Shannon Sharp, and he was kind of talking about it. He got the dates wrong, but he was talking about the time that Sean Payne, Drew, Reggie, and all of them kicked their ass. That was Christmas Eve, 2006, excuse me. We kicked their ass, and then me and my family went to church for the Christmas Eve mass. And it's funny. I just vividly remember as we were leaving, and everybody's hyped up. The Saints just whooped the Giants' ass. We had locked in the number 2 seats, and we had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. That's all everybody was talking about after the game. It was the Saints. After the match, it was the Saints. Never mind Christmas tomorrow. It's the Saints going to the goddamn Super Bowl, right? But I remember my dad was talking to somebody. He was like, man, I can't believe I'm living in a lifetime where I finally might be able to see the Saints make it to the Super Bowl. Sadly, we did not. Again, we lost to Chicago a few weeks later. I got some funny stories about that Chicago NFC Championship game, too. I'll wait till one day maybe some of my family, some of y'all favorite who used to be co-hosts might join the show again one day, possibly. Let them recollect how fun we had in 2006 with the NFC Championship game and how heated it got with the family because it's shit more than a game, y'all. And then 2007 and 2008 come, and of course we all remember the Saints were 7-9. You're kind of like, okay, was 2006 just a one-hit wonder? Well, we the Baja men who let the dogs out. It was just a one-hit wonder, that's all it was. But of course, and then 2009, the New Orleans Saints had one of the greatest seasons of all time. Shout out to my cousin Jamal. Shout out to my cuz Cav. I think that's my cuz Cav. I see Cav, but it could be somebody else. It was just 2009. Y'all, let's talk about 2009. When did y'all think that the New Orleans Saints were going to win the Super Bowl? Did you need to see Tracy Porter actually pick off Peyton Manning for you to finally say, we're going to win the Super Bowl? Or did at any moment in 2009, led by Drew Brees, who should have been MVP that season, by the way, but of course the national media had already anointed Peyton Manning as the MVP. If you look at the numbers, Drew Brees should have been MVP. I got mad respect for Peyton Manning. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. He had a great year that year as well. Drew Brees has always ran into bad luck. Whenever he had his best seasons, there was a quarterback who had a comparable season with him. But the national media, by like week 12, I remember, they had already anointed the golden boy, Peyton Manning, for MVP, even though if you look at 2009, that was probably a good chance that Drew Brees should have his MVP on his resume. Because now, again, going back to opposing fans, national media, they always argue that, Drew Brees never won MVP, so he was never the best quarterback in a singular year ever in his career. I'd argue that 2009, he was the best quarterback in the NFL. 2011, he was very much close. I'll give Aaron Rodgers credit. Aaron Rodgers also had an insane year that year. I hate to say that, given Aaron Rodgers been making some stupid-ass comments lately, but again, Drew Brees has had bad luck a lot of times. But just because he doesn't have an MVP to his name, don't mean that mother was not an MVP at any point in his career, because we all know he was an MVP, whether the awards say it or not. But let me know in 2009, y'all, when did y'all feel like, the Saints are actually probably going to win the Super Bowl? This is a popular answer. Slim South talks about the Dolphins comeback game. That was an amazing game. Oh, what an amazing game that was. It was like, okay, the Saints are finally going to lose a game. Dolphins were whooping our ass, right? And then Drew Brees, one of the best quarterback performances of his career. I mean, he wasn't even the linchpin of it. It was the running game that kind of got us back together with Mike Bell and them. But Drew Brees just calmly led us back from down, what was it, 21, 24 points in the second half. And we won symbolically in Miami, where we would be a few months later. And it was just incredible. And you looked at that game and you were like, wow, this Saints team is good. I remember leaving week 1, the Superdome. We played the Lions. We whooped the Lions' ass, man. And look, it's the Detroit Lions. I mean, I know what the Detroit Lions are now, and we will see them again in week 1 this year. But back then, it was the Detroit Lions, right? Like, the Detroit Lions. But, dog, we looked so good on offense. I was like, Because if y'all remember, in preseason, we looked pretty good, too. Like, we had a real good preseason in 2009. I remember we played the Oakland Raiders in our third preseason game. And back then, the third preseason game is where the starters, really played. Like, they played about 2 to 3 quarters as their warm-up before their official warm-up before the season. And we whooped the Raiders' ass in that third week of preseason game so bad. I mean, Sean Payne called off the dogs in the second quarter. He was like, all right, seen enough. We ain't even got to go to the third quarter with the starters. You guys are ready for the season. And I remember looking at that game like, damn, dog, the Saints, we might have something building this year. And then week 1 confirmed it for me. When we whooped the Lions' ass in the Superdome in week 1, I was like, I think we had 14 points within the first 6 minutes before any team in the rest of the NFL even scored their first touchdown of the season yet. The Saints were putting on a mission in 2009 that, we are to be feared this year. Now, did I walk out the Superdome saying, the Saints are going to the Super Bowl this year? No, but I felt very confident that it was going to be a good year. And then The next week, we beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. This is when the Eagles are like the big bad Eagles, right? And we whooped their ass too. And now we started with all these teams' asses, right? And I'm like, yo, I think that's where my just fandom delusion kicked in. And I was like, yo, the Saints are going to the Super Bowl. Now, the Miami game kind of like confirmed it. Like when we start winning games like that, you're like, wow, yo, the Saints are really going to the Super Bowl. But it took for me like week 1, week 2, I was like, man, yo, this team is good. Like this team is legit. We are putting up points and kicking ass on these teams. And then, of course, that infamous Redskins game where we had no business winning that game. No business winning that game. Then the Meacham strip. And it's just one of those things where you're like, yo, never mind that we're a good team. Like, we have God on our side this year. We have God on our side this year. I always say sometimes when it's your year, it's your year. Like, I know a lot of fans talk about the Minnesota Miracle and they say, man, if we would have won that game, that could have been our next ring. I always say, look, I not disagreeing. I think that we definitely would have gave the Eagles a better fight in the NFC Championship game than the Vikings ended up giving them. But that was the Eagles' year. I felt like, hey, I hate the Minnesota Miracle, don't get me wrong, but I lose more sleep over no call. And even the 2011 game against the 49ers than I do over the Minnesota Miracle, because I look back at 2017 and I'm like, yo, that was just the Eagles' year. Like some years you could just see when God is on the team side. 2009, God was on the Saints side. Most recently, the NBA Finals this year. You can just see like God is on New York side. Like when the team has it, when the city is just feeling blessed by the sports guys, you can't deny it. In 2009, we saw that firsthand when that Dolphins come back and when we beat the Redskins with that Meacham strip, you know, Drew Brees throws interception, Meacham strips it back. You just know, hey, yo, God is on our side. And the NFC Championship game proved it because if you look back on the NFC Championship game, ironically, my dad randomly rewatched it about a month ago, and the Saints really probably should not have won that game. Like, we got a lot of breaks that game. Thanks to Minnesota. I mean, thanks to our defense, don't get me wrong. Somebody's got to cause the turnovers, right? But like Adrian Peterson fumbles on the 1-yard line. Brett Favre throws probably the worst interception of all time. Like, we got a lot of breaks that year. And all you can chalk it up to is that, yo, some year the sports guys are just on your side, and this your year. 2009 was our year. Ziggy says, by the way, y'all, he purchased 50 Drew Brees cups today. He's not lying. I can show the text thread with me and him. I don't know if you guys know, if you're in the Louisiana area, it's a free promo I'm giving them. It ain't like they sponsor me, so they owe me. But sliders, small sliders, which Drew Brees is a part owner of, is giving away Drew Brees commemorative cups if you go stop by for only like $3. So if you guys want a cool Drew Brees Hall of Fame cup, go to small sliders in the Louisiana area and you can get a cool Drew Brees cup that shout out to my guy Ziggy. He bought about 50 of them apparently. So hey, Ziggy, maybe we give out some on the John O'Bone show for people who aren't in the Louisiana area and don't have a chance to get it. All right, I'm trying to keep up with the comments. I'm sorry, this is a Drew Brees celebration. I'm rambling so much because I love him so much, but I want to see how you guys remember Drew Brees too. So all right, let's go to some of the comments. I know I asked y'all a lot of questions. The Know the Chop podcast says that Dolphins game, we came back 21 points down. It was 21 points and won 46-34. So imagine being down 21 points and still putting up 46 points on the team. Damn, that 2019 was good. It is the single greatest Saints game that I have witnessed, and that told me that they were going to the Super Bowl. On Twitter today, the Know the Chop podcast, I asked everybody, I say, what non-playoff game was your favorite Drew Brees game? And the number one answer was this one, which is Jerry's answer. My favorite game from Drew Brees was the Monday Night Football game against Tom Brady and the Patriots, where we were the Patriots' ass. And for the first time ever, Bill Belichick took out Tom Brady with like 7-8 minutes to go, and they waved the white flag. And this was like, you know, never seen before on a national stage. The Dynasty Patriots saying, surrender, surrender. Oh, man, what a time. New Orleans Saints made their mark on the NFL that night. It was incredible. That was the number one answer I got today, Jerry, when I asked on Twitter everybody's favorite non-playoff Drew Brees game. But the number two answer for sure from people was that Miami Dolphins game. Both legendary performances by Drew Brees. But that Patriots game, Jerry, I mean, Drew had a perfect quarterback rating against the greatest quarterback of all time. What a game that was. What a game that was. And yet people still say he's not a top 10 quarterback. It makes no damn sense. Sandra says, speaking of that Super Bowl, the first half of the Super Bowl sucked. When Tracy Porter ran it back, we screamed and hollered and damn near cried. Oh, we cried in our family, Sandra. Sonia continued watching while I went to sit on the pool. You had to take a break, Sonia. Well, you had that Popeyes lady, the meme where she's just going outside. She's just like, I gotta catch my breath. This is an emotional time right now. When I heard the neighborhood erupt, I knew. So, Sandra, are you saying that you are actually not watching when Tracy Porter made the pick six? Come on, Sandra. You had to watch that. Therefore, I know you were probably nervous as hell. I ain't gonna judge or anything, but that first half actually was pretty bad. It wasn't one of my worst first halves, but I do remember the Colts was um, controlling the flow of the game, and it wasn't until thankfully, not even the third quarter, but the end of the second half, we kind of got our stuff together. Gary Hartley was making some huge kicks. I mean, just some absolute huge kicks. And then come third quarter, of course, the onside kick, greatest call in Super Bowl history, and the rest is history, right? ASAP says that Harley field goal. I cannot believe it that I still get chills watching it. I am blessed that I was in the Superdome for that moment. Tears were shed. ASAP thickness. Tears were shed. Um, Yep, 2009 was highly favored. And, y'all, I see a lot of debate about, the greatest Saints team of all time, and a lot of people argued that 2011 was, and I'm not mad at that. 2011, of course, we should have won the Super Bowl that year. Goddamn Alex Smith and Vernon Davis. We had a stat offense. We had Jimmy Graham, who was entering his prime. We had Darren Sproles, who I love Reggie Bush, but Darren Sproles was a better version of Reggie Bush in our offense. We just had some talent, man. The number one offense, I believe, of all time until the Broncos of 2016 or whatever. We probably should have won the Super Bowl in 2011, but they didn't. They didn't, which is why I still would argue that 2019 was better, because even if 2011 team probably could put up 60 points compared to the 2019 that could put up 40 points, that 2019 just kind of had that X factor that I don't think we've had since maybe ever. I mean, 2018 maybe, but of course we got screwed. And that X factor, man, you can't put that on a chart and say, here's the tail of the tape between the 2009 Saints versus the 2011 Saints. You could go by the numbers, you can put the defense versus the offense, the star players, all that, but you cannot put stuff like that X factors. And the X factor for the 2009 Saints was that whenever we needed to make a play, the 2009 Saints made a play. Whereas the 2011 team, whenever we needed to make a play in the biggest moment, we did not make the play. That is why I will put 2009 over 2011. As much as I love that 2011 team too, as much as it hurts that we did not win a ring in 2011, the 2009 team was special, man. And I hope that it does not go down in history as the only time we won a Super Bowl. But if it was, at least, like my dad said that day on Christmas Eve at church, hey, I got to see the Saints make the Super Bowl in my lifetime. What a time. What a time. Thanks to the legendary Drew Brees. Where are you guys going to be this Saturday for the Hall of Fame ceremony? Bruce saying, I saw you a few times in the chat. I don't know, you in and out tonight. Are you still going to the game? The game. Well, I know there's a game, but are you still going to the festivities this weekend, Bruce saying? I hope you are, because I would love if you are kind of see some of the footage that you might capture while you are out there. But for the rest of you guys, where are you guys watching the Hall of Fame festivities this weekend? I mean, I'm gonna be at home, but I'm gonna be watching it with my wife and my kid, and it's just gonna be a great moment. I don't think there's gonna be a dry eye in the city of New Orleans when Drew Brees makes his speech. Sean Payne will be unveiling the statue with him. Sean Payne will be presenting Drew Brees this Saturday. There's no better person, in my opinion, to do so than Sean Payne. And I know some Saints fans feel a little salty about Sean Payne right now, given how he left the team and he's with Denver right now. But at the end of the day, that man brought us a Super Bowl. He is the head coach of the only Super Bowl of our lifetime. I will forever be indebted to him. He blocked me on Twitter, but I will still forever be indebted to him because he brought us a Super Bowl. And him and Drew Brees gave us the greatest 15 years of Saints fandom in our lives. And I hope that we can have greater days as fans. Of course, I always want the future to be better than whatever the past was, because I always want better for the things that I love. But till it happens, Drew Brees and Sean Payne gave us the greatest Saints fandom of our lives for 15 years. And it's going to be kind of like the tip of the cap, the final exclamation point of that era, to watch Sean Payne and Drew Brees unveil Drew Brees' bust this Saturday at the Hall of Fame. And like I said, I don't think there's going to be a dry eye in New Orleans and in Louisiana. Hell, in the Carolinas with ASAP thickness. I don't think there's going to be a dry eye for any Saints fan who's watching it. But I think a lot of y'all will be home. Make sure y'all follow me on social media. I'm sure I'm going to have some content out on Saturday about it. It's going to be a special time. And I cannot wait for us to continuously, as we have already started this week, me on social media platforms, the Saints on their platforms. The NFL has been posting a lot of Drew Brees highlights, which I love to see. I'm just loving the Drew Brees celebration this week and appreciation of Drew Brees this week. And I'm gonna ignore and I give energy to the list that has Drew Brees not as a top 5, not as a top 10 quarterback. On people who make an argument, oh, Aaron Rodgers was better, Brett Favre was better. Hell, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson will go down as better quarterbacks. And I'm not giving any of that my energy. Maybe next Monday I'll get back on my demon time and defending Drew Brees. But this week is about celebrating Drew Brees. And I know you all are going to be celebrating Drew Brees. Ziggy says they scapegoated us for Bountygate and slow down our momentum. Free Greg Williams, right? They put Greg Williams on that stuff, man. Like as if every team didn't have a pay-for-play system back in the day. Even Jeremy Shockey, who was on Shannon Sharp's show last week, he even said, man, in college, we had a pay-for-play system. In New York, we had a pay-for-play system. So why is Bountygate suddenly a big deal? Well, it's because the NFL wants to cover their ass because concussions were a hot topic at that time. So they were like, oh, well, we got this thing with the Saints. We got to make an example out of somebody, save our ass. And so fans use that as almost like, oh, it's the only reason y'all won the Super Bowl. Okay, I'm sure that was like, guarantee at least half of other teams were doing a pay-for-play type system too. But the big bad Saints are the ones who get in trouble for it. Either way, it ain't like hitting the team harder is going to make you suddenly a much better team. You know, teams still had to score touchdowns and stop us. And they had the same opportunity to hit our offense. So I don't see how Bountygate is this big bad scandal that some fans, Falcons, wanted to be so bad. I lose no sleep over Bountygate, Ziggy. By the way, y'all, Greg Williams followed me on Twitter this past weekend. I was like, oh, how cool is that? You know, Greg Williams, Saints Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. You could tell it's Greg Williams too, because if you go on his profile, all he does is like respond to random ass tweets with emojis. I'm like, yep, that's that old man generation of Facebook, just like the thumbs up and stuff. I'm like, that's definitely Greg Williams behind this account. And he followed me. So the shit more than the game, huh? Free my dog Greg Williams. I'll end the segment with this because I see ASAP backs. What did I do to get blocked by Champagne? I don't know, ASAP. I really don't know. I champion Champagne on Twitter all the time. I never dissed him. I mean, I might have been a fan at some point and be like, come on, Sean, what are you doing? But I never like did anything crazy or say anything crazy about him professionally or personally. I carry that man's water on Twitter, so I don't know what he did. I know I did a skit one time, and maybe he thought it wasn't funny, or he thought it was a little too close. I don't know. Maybe he just thinks I'm corny. A lot of people do. So even though he blocked me, I still be on Twitter, like honoring him and carrying his water and defending him about leaving us and saying, hey, man, if somebody, you was at a job for 15 years, you probably, or 16 years, you probably wanted a new start too. I remember I met him like 2 years ago when the Super Bowl was in the city. I should have, but like a punk, actually. I met him and John Gruden together at a Boston event. Shout out to my guy, Mincy. I just asked for a picture. I didn't ask Champagne why he blocked me. He probably would have been like, who the hell are you? You know, I'm sure Champagne doesn't know me like that, but he saw some tweet back in 2021 that made him go, yep, block this guy. But it's cool. It's cool. He's a Broncos coach now anyway. He could block me now. He's not in New Orleans anymore, so it's a perfect time. Yeah, it's a perfect time. It was a perfect. Yeah, that was a skit that I did where I used to act like I was pulling up to Champagne's house. He probably thought that wasn't funny. He probably thought that, I don't know who this guy is, but hell with that. So he probably took the skit a little bit too literal. But I still love Coach Payne. He brought my team a Super Bowl. When you bring my team a Super Bowl, I mean, you probably could smack my. I'm gonna stop. Let me not say anything stupid, getting incriminated or something. But I just shows how much this shit more than a game. It's gonna be a great Saturday, an emotional Saturday. We're gonna celebrate Drew Brees, and we love Drew Brees. There's another Saints quarterback that we are gonna celebrate in our next segment, who unfortunately will not be playing in New Orleans this upcoming season. We all knew it was coming, but he finally confirmed it this past week. That we're gonna celebrate after a word from one of our sponsors.
Oh, come on, man, tackle him! You know we put your arms around you, hold him in the tackle him! Oh, man, I'm tired of this thing, man!
John, maybe you're gonna call the cops!
Oh, man, this shit more than a game, man!
Ah, yes, we've all been there before. This shit is more than a game, man. And now, these shirts are more than a game. But did you know that this merch wasn't made only for sportswear? No sirree. This shit more than a game is a lifestyle brand. You can wear the shirts for anything, such as going shopping, working out,
This shit more than a game!
doing chores, setting the mood,
Yeah, that's that thing I like.
Changing a tire. Robbing a bank.
Go, 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 go!
Jumping a Falcons fan. And so much more. So purchase your official This Shit More Than a Game merch today for the low starting point of $28.03 and let the world know this shit more than a game. Warning, please see a doctor if you feel you've gone too far with taking this shit more than a game. This Shit More Than a Game is not associated or licensed with any organization or entity except for John Bones LLC. This Shit More Than a Game is not responsible for any fights caused by the shirts. John Bones LLC does not promote or recommend violence of any kind unless it's at the expense of a Falcons fan.
Make sure y'all buy y'all This Shit More Than the Game shirts. The season is soon upon us, and you can get it for the low, low price of $28.03. Now, while we celebrate Drew Brees, we got to celebrate somebody else who is the definition of this shit more than the game. I'm sure you all have seen the news by now. I kind of basically already called it earlier in the offseason. I went 4 for 4, by the way, y'all, in my offseason predictions about the Saints legends. I said DeMario was going to go. He left. I said I think Cam and AK were going to stay. They stayed, which is awesome. And I said I'm pretty sure Taysom is going to leave, especially how he treated that last Superdome game, home game last season, where he was very emotional after the game. And I was it was proven correctly this past week because Taysom Hill said his goodbye officially to New Orleans, and we said our goodbye to Taysom back. Now, I also said that if Taysom does play football in 2026, I think it's going to be with the Broncos. And no surprise, Sean Payton told the NFL Network this past weekend that they were very interested in bringing Taysom Hill to the Broncos, which we all kind of see as the writing on the wall, right? Like the question for me is Taysom going to come early, like in week 1? Is he going to try to play a full season, or is he going to wait till, which I think he should, wait till November, December, where you ain't got to play a full season? And given how Taysom's body is older and, very broken down, but still good. I'm not saying he's the wash. I'm just saying that obviously, he's had a ton of injuries. So you want to limit the physical brutality that you take throughout a football season. So why not Taysom? You come in November, December, where you will at least by that point know are the Broncos contenders or not. And then if they are, you can kind of be that X factor for them in a push to get them over the hump to win the Super Bowl. But it seems like if Taysom does play football this year, that it's going to be with the Denver Broncos, which I predicted this past offseason. But this is not about Taysom's future. This is about what Taysom did for us in the past. And I'll thank you as well to Taysom Hill. I don't know if Ziggy's still in the comments, but y'all know Ziggy loved him some Taysom Hill. My big brother, my guardian angel now, he was the hugest Taysom fan. So get a 10K and pour one up to him. I'm sure he was shedding some dog tears in heaven this past week when Taysom Hill stuff came out, but we all saw it coming, and very emotional because even though you expect it, it still hits home. It still hits home to know that Taysom Hill would not be wearing black and gold for the first time since 2017. And what a story he was, man. What a story Taysom Hill was, that a guy who was undrafted could come to the New Orleans Saints and end up being Mr. Everything, a punt returner, a punt gunner, a tight end, a H-back, a quarterback, a wide receiver. There were times where I was thinking we were going to put Taysom at cornerback. I kid you not. I was like, this dude's doing everything. At some point, we're going to put him at cornerback just to see what he can do. He was Mr. Football, as the New Orleans Saints called him in their thank you post to him last week. He was Mr. Football. He was awesome. He was polarizing to even Saints fans sometimes. But that's because sometimes greatness from a unique space gets hated on the most. And the national media, opposing fans, they just couldn't understand who Taysom Hill was or what he was, so they reverted to hating. The Saints should not be taking away snaps from Drew Brees. Why would you not give the ball to Alvin Kamara or Mark Ingram? Why are they giving this to this quarterback? We don't like Taysom Hill. He's a gimmick. He's a master of nothing, but he's good at everything. But he's a master of none. And again, I always say, y'all, when it comes to the big market bias, now imagine if Taysom is doing this with the Patriots during their dynasty. Imagine if the Taysom Hill is doing this with the Cowboys. Imagine if he's doing this in New York. I guarantee you the narrative would have been so much different with the national media. Taysom is nothing like we've ever seen before. He might be a Hall of Famer. And I know sometimes there are some people who say that Taysom Hill is a Hall of Famer in the national media, but it's usually used as engagement stuff to get other people to argue back. What you mean Taysom Hill is a Hall of Famer? You're crazy. Now look, I love Taysom. Am I saying Taysom Hill is a Hall of Famer myself? No, and I'm a Saints fan. I think he's a Saints Hall of Famer for sure, guaranteed. No bones about it. Any Saints fan who thinks that he's not going to the Saints Hall of Fame is freaking crazy. Am I going to say Taysom Hill is an NFL Hall of Famer, Pro Football Hall of Famer? No, but I wouldn't be mad if they ever did say, well, you know what? We're going to make a special position for Taysom the way we got Devin Hester in the Hall of Fame as a pure kickoff returner, which Devin Hester absolutely deserved it. But I guarantee you one thing, if Taysom Hill had the same career he had with us in Dallas and New York, with the Patriots, hell with the Chiefs now, I guarantee there will be a lot more national media applauding him and saying he's actually a Hall of Famer because he's did something that we never thought was possible. Again, it's that big market bias that as great as the NFL is with not making markets feel like they matter so much compared to what the NBA is, and we see that with every damn offseason with some national media idiot saying, the Pelicans should move. Nobody in New Orleans wants to watch basketball. Whatever. There still is bias when it comes to big markets. And I guarantee you, just like if Drew Brees was playing in Dallas or New York, he would be for sure a top 5 quarterback by every national pundit. If Taysom Hill had the career that he had in New Orleans with a big market team, I guarantee you his polarization would be much less polarizing. His polarization would be much less polarizing if he did it in the big market. Because he did it with the New Orleans Saints, it was like, man, who is this Taysom Hill guy? You know what Taysom Hill was? He was great. He could do it all. He never complained. Teams have been trying to find the Taysom Hill since 2017, and we would not be able to. There probably might be a one-of-one guy. We may not see another Taysom Hill for a long, long time. He was a spark plug for the team. He was the Atlanta Falcons owner. It ain't out the blank. It was Taysom Hill. Because it's funny that a lot of fan bases would talk shit about Taysom Hill, right? But the one main fan base that always talk shit about Taysom Hill was the Atlanta Falcons fan base. And Taysom Hill used to destroy the Atlanta Falcons. It was incredible. Taysom Hill would destroy the Atlanta Falcons. It was like we made him in a football lab to do everything, but his main goal, his main objective would be to destroy the Atlanta Falcons. And Taysom Hill would destroy the Atlanta Falcons. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And I know that the polarization of Taysom Hill led to some Saints fans this time because they were like, Taysom, we don't need to be doing. Every time we do Taysom in, it doors off the offense and this and that. Hey, you can't satisfy everybody, right? But the numbers don't lie. Taysom was a killer, man. Taysom was a special player. And I am blessed, and we all are, that we were able to witness it in the black and gold. I'm going to miss Taysom Hill. I wish him the best in his future, whether he decides to come back to football, whether he says, I want to hang up my cleats. He's going to be forever a legend in the city of New Orleans and in the state of Louisiana. I hope that we see another Taysom Hill in the black and gold, but I sincerely doubt it because he was a special, special player, man. A special, special player. They asked Taysom Hill, what position do you play? Taysom Hill would say football. That's my position. I play football. And it was awesome that he was able to do it in New Orleans. Be damned what a hater say. Be damned what a skeptic or a critic say. Taysom Hill was this shit more than the game certified. No, Ma, I'm not crying, but I probably will cry Saturday. Taysom Hill was absolutely the Falcon killer. ASAP Dickness says he is a Saints Hall of Famer for sure. Exactly. I saw, because that was one of my first tweets when he officially announced his retirement, not retirement, that he wasn't coming back to the Saints. I say it's guaranteed that Taysom Hill is going to be a Saints Hall of Famer. Now, some people read it too fast, typical social media, and thought I was saying he's going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. No, even I'm not going to argue that. Now, there are some Saints fans who are arguing that Taysom Hill should be a candidate for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They ain't going to be me. As much as I love Taysom, I'm like, you know what? I can't argue, against Matt Ryan not being a Hall of Famer, Mike Evans not being a Hall of Famer, then turn around and say, but Taysom Hill is. No, that's not me. But for sure, he's a Saints Hall of Famer. There was even some Saints fans who were like, Saints Hall of Famer? What you mean? Hell no. And I'm like, we don't have the greatest football franchise history of all time. Like, we're not the 49ers. We're not the Patriots. Like, I'm not going to say it's easy to get into the Saints Hall of Fame, but like, Taysom has more than done enough to be a Saints Hall of Famer. That should not be a debate. A Saints Hall of Famer, it should not be a debate. He is guaranteed to be a Saints Hall of Famer. He is absolutely guaranteed to be a Saints Hall of Famer, and he should be. Sandra says his energy was so infectious. He played every position with such excitement. Like, this man loves the game. Not only does he love the game, he is one of the first people I think about, Sandra. When I say this shit more than a game, I think about Taysom Hill. Ziggy says, I think Taysom has a jersey or something at the Hall of Fame on this. So he's technically already kind of in the Hall of Fame, Ziggy, literally, but he's not a part of the Hall of Fame. But yes, I actually remember when the NFL Experience came down for the Super Bowl last year. They had like a mini Hall of Fame display, and they had this display where Taysom Hill's jersey was displayed because he was the first player to, I forget what the specific, I mean, he has so many great stats, and like first player to have 1,000 yards passing, rushing, and receiving in his career, which is awesome, right? Like, that's a special shit. So I'm very content with him, his jersey, or at least just like a small part of the Hall of Fame exhibit honoring his uniqueness and how special he was. And if any Saints fan can't appreciate that, then they are insane. I'm not gonna tell any fan how to feel, but to not appreciate what Taysom Hill was for the city is insane. Let me see if I got any more Taysom Hill memories from everybody. Do y'all have a favorite Taysom Hill memory? Let me know. Mine was always that he would abuse the Falcons. He was actually undefeated, by the way, as a starting quarterback. So not only did he beat the man his role as Mr. Football, but when they were laughing at the Saints for starting him as starting quarterback, oh, they starting Taysom Hill. He's not even a good quarterback. Never mind him being a gadget player. Taysom Hill was undefeated every time he started at quarterback against the Atlanta Falcons. That man owned the Falcons, man. He's a Saints Hall of Famer for that alone. He is a Saints Hall of Famer for that alone. Ziggy coming with the facts, even from the chat. He says the achievement was Taysom Hill recorded at least 25 rushing touchdowns, 10 passing touchdowns, and 10 receiving touchdowns in his career. The only one of one, y'all. Ain't nobody else that has the stat line that Ziggy has on the screen right now about Taysom Hill. So if you ever fix your lips to say that Taysom Hill is not a Saints Hall of Famer, I don't know what game you've been watching. Certainly not the this shit more than the game variety, because Taysom Hill is a legend. We are going to miss him on this show. We're going to miss him in New Orleans. We're going to miss him in Louisiana. Taysom, man, thank you for the memories. You are forever this shit more than the game certified. And we wish you the best, Taysom Hill, in your future. But always remember, Taysom, whether you go to the Broncos or whatever you do, Taysom Hill, you will always be a Saint.
Sundays are definitely busy and strenuous for me. I wake up around 8:30 a.m. and mentally prepare myself for the day ahead. You know, do my typical morning routine stuff and prepare myself as I make the commute from my bed to the couch. I check my fantasy team, tweak my lineup like 3 or 4 times before I finally settle on the lineup I originally had to begin with. Crack open a beer or two. I mean, hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? By the time the game starts at 12 p.m., I'm really in the zone, you know, locked in. A pure master of my craft. Sometimes, and this is rare, but sometimes if I'm really on one, you know, I sneak in a power nap between the end of the 12 o'clock games and the start of the 3:30 games. Around 6:45, there's a gap between the early games and the Sunday night games, so that's when I usually go outside for the first time all day. It's beautiful, you know, this thing we call life. It's beautiful. I often wonder, am I wasting my days away as I stare into the sky and I see all of life just passing me by? And then I rush inside to make sure I didn't forget to bench my wide receiver in fantasy football, who was officially just announced as being out for tonight's game. After the Sunday night game, I get up and get ready for bed. Definitely need to get my rest after a long, draining, exhausting day. And then I see the highlight show start and I sit back down to watch the recaps of all the games I had just spent the whole day watching. I get to bed around 12 a.m. and before I go to bed, I take one last look at my couch and I tell myself, next Sunday, I will do my best again. unless it's a good slate of college football games next week, which then it will be Saturday and Sunday.
Y'all see the prompt. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. Not only to make me happy, but most importantly,
Hey fans, hit the subscribe button in 3 seconds to make this Falcons fan sad. 3, 2, 1.
Sandra had a funny comment. She put, Lil Jono has probably changed that routine. Oh, who you telling, Sandra? Who you telling? Hopefully y'all enjoyed that throwback. Usually I say I'm gonna play a throwback skit if we get to a super chat mark. We didn't even get any super chat. Y'all don't want to celebrate Drew Brees today? I put in a super chat goal. I say let's get at least $9 in super chat so we can celebrate Drew Brees. It's cool though. It's cool. Y'all don't want to support the show. But I know somebody who did support the show last week, and that's why she is also on This Shit More Than the Scoreboard in the background. And that is the lovely queen of the This Shit More Than the Game community, Sandra. Look how lonely that graphic is, y'all. What's going on? Y'all saving it for the regular season. I understand. I see what y'all doing. Y'all saving it for the regular. Sandra says we broke. Yeah, times are hard, Sandra. Times are hard, especially with that damn political administration we got, right? Like economy. The economy that everybody thought for sure is going to come back to a blossoming star. Well, I'm still waiting for that. But anyways, I want to give a special This Shit More Than a Thanks to Sandra for leaving the super chat last week. Every super chat we get, y'all, we invest right back into the show. I'm just being silly, y'all. Y'all don't have to leave super chats every week. I appreciate y'all just being on the show and rocking with me and having fun. Hey, no, don't, y'all, nobody in the comment ASAP, don't do that. I don't need anybody. I knew that. That's why I didn't want to say his name out loud because I knew he was going to do it. Ziggy, thanks. Y'all hit. Where they at? Where they at? Ziggy leaves a $10 super chat. You should have left a $9 super chat, Ziggy. And he says Drew is the best quarterback of all time. Ziggy, we appreciate you. Ziggy, I don't know if you read the comments when you first made your appearance and how excited everybody was. They don't need you on the show every week, Ziggy. We know you got a busy life. But if you could come on the show every now and then, Ziggy, I think they will appreciate that, right? Look at ASAP Thickness. She ain't here for you and forever, Ziggy. They're not saying, Ziggy, we want you on the show every single week, but they're saying, Ziggy, can you at least come on the show once a month? Give us some of that Ziggy positivity. Ziggy, you be trying to tell them. They want you to try to tell them now. Ziggy, they hyped up this season. They want you to try to tell them. Ziggy, you got to come on the show, though, to let them know. Let them know that Drew Brees is the best quarterback of all time, Ziggy. We know you're trying to tell them, the national media, with that. Swear, y'all, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. Shout out to Ziggy, man. Ziggy, thanks for the super chat. I would rather your appearance on the show, Ziggy, than a super chat, but I appreciate you either way, Ziggy. And I know Ziggy gonna be crying tears, y'all. He is a real one. Look how excited everybody gets, man. Ziggy says, I'll be back. Yo, how many? I love my dog, but how many times Ziggy done told y'all that in the past? I'll be back, y'all. He sound like a father saying, I'm going out to get milk. He ain't never coming back. How many times you gonna say, I'm gonna be back though, y'all? I'm gonna be back though. All right, Ziggy, we'll see. You would think I thought for sure though Ziggy was gonna be on this week. I say, Ziggy, though, I'm honoring Taysom, I'm honoring Drew Brees. Like this is a show made for you. But Ziggy just got more important things, I guess. Ziggy, I love you, my guy. And again, y'all, Ziggy really did go buy some of them Drew Brees cups. So I'm thinking as I'm talking out loud, maybe me and Ziggy do a special where because I know not everybody has the ability to get the cups the way Ziggy can. So maybe we'll do a special giveaway and have some fun this upcoming season where we give away one of those special commemorative Drew Brees Hall of Fame cups. But shout out to you, Ziggy, man. You the man, Ziggy. Yeah, we do miss you, Ziggy, and hopefully we get Ziggy on the show sometime this season. Wow, for the first time, Ziggy, I feel like everybody is hyped up about the team. Like everybody, even me. Sean might be. If we get Sean back on the show, he might even say, "This Rams hating ass." Oh, the Saints, y'all got something this year. But we definitely will appreciate your positivity right now, Ziggy. But we appreciate having you in the chat. All right, y'all. I hate to do this because we've been using this show so positively, excuse me, the past hour or so, but we do got to talk about training camp because training camp started. This is how I thought the show was going to be this week after last Tuesday. I was like, man, training camp starts. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about what's going on in training camp. Unfortunately, it's just like a lot of things going on. That ain't so positive, I guess, from training. Now, there's been some good positives with training camp so far, but there's been some things that have not been so positive when it comes to Saints training camp so far. So it was the first thing that happened since last Tuesday. Brian Breezy went down in the second practice training camp, and he is out for the season. And that really sucks because while Brian Breezy hasn't been necessarily dominant since coming to the team, a few years ago as our first round draft pick, he's been a very solid player, in my opinion. Uh, and I was hoping that maybe this year, especially because it was kind of a de facto contract year for him, that he was going to really ball out. And unfortunately, he will not get that opportunity because he is out for the season. Y'all remember before the show, on the show last week, I said, let's say a prayer. Let's say a prayer for the guys to stay cool in this crazy ass heat that they are practicing in. And I said, I want all teams, especially the Saints, but I said, I want all teams to be healthy coming out of training camp. And unfortunately, man, NFC South football guys just really don't like the NFC South, I guess, because not only the Saints have been taking some hard hits, but I don't know if any of the Falcons fans are still in the chat. I saw some of them earlier. It might be past their bedtime. It's 10:18 in Atlanta. Today, um, woke up to the news that Bijan Robinson agreed to a contract extension with the Atlanta Falcons. Good for him. I love seeing running backs particularly get paid because they are one of the more expendable positions in the NFL. And I think he's a great player. I'm turning off my hateration, my haterade for this segment with the Falcons. So I'm always happy to see a player get paid. And I was kind of hoping he didn't get paid and got traded. I know that was a pipe dream, but I hate to see my division full have such great players. But Bijan Robinson is a great player, and I was happy to see that. But then, like I said, it's the typical life of an Atlanta Falcons fan. You get super high and then you get super low. Today at training camp, the Falcons edge rusher Jalen Walker tore his ACL. When I took the screenshot, it was feared that he tore his ACL, but since then it has been confirmed that he has tore his ACL and he will be out for the season. We all know how the Falcons fans have been in the chat all offseason talking about how great their defense is and how Jalen Walker was going to cause havoc. We all know what James Pierce did this past offseason, and I think it's a damn shame if James Pierce even gets to play this season, but I'm sure he's going to be out for a few games. So I'm just going to speak it strictly from a football standpoint. Falcons D-line is definitely in trouble now that there are two star edge rushers from the draft last year. One is out for the season. One is probably going to be out for at least 1/4 of the season. Their quarterback situation doesn't look too good, in my opinion, at least. That sucks. I'm not going to use this segment to talk trash. We're going to have fun with the Falcons, of course, all season. But one thing I don't do, one thing I'll never do, not even in the gimmick, not even in the character, is make light of any injury, whether they are my division rival or not. I feel bad for Jalen Walker, and I hope that he can recover and have the career that he looked like he was about to have. I hate that he does it with the Falcons, right? I hate, I'm a hater when it comes to anybody who wears the Falcons uniform. So I want them to have the best careers, but I'm a human at the end of the day. These guys put their bodies on the line to, entertain us, but also to, change their lives, change their family lives. And it's definitely a roadblock for someone like Jalen Walker. And rivalry, trash talk, entertainment, and gimmick aside, I wish him the best. Feel bad for the Falcons, man. That's a tough loss. They had some high hopes for Jalen Walker and James Pierce, technically, after this past season, and definitely not off to a good start on that end. So our prayers to him, and of course, in our backyard, again, man, prayers to Brian Breezy, because that sucks. On the field, we could talk about, how does it affect us? And does it how impactful is his injury? Like, does it change the trajectory of the 2026 New Orleans Saints? I would say probably not too much. Because Brian Breezy, again, he's been a pretty good player, but he hasn't been like an impactful, like this guy's a game changer type thing. So I still have the Saints winning the same amount of games I had before the news, but it does suck. And Breezy was a good player for the defense. And again, he was in a kind of a contract year. So you was hoping, hey, maybe he's going to ball out this year because he wants that big contract. But from a personal standpoint, I feel bad for the kid. When you're in a contract year and you go out before you even have a chance to prove your value, that absolutely sucks, man. So Brian Breezy, your family are in our prayers. Healed up, my guy. Come back stronger in 2027. For Jalen Walker on the field, his loss is much bigger for the Falcons than what Brian Breezy's loss is for the Saints. But same thing, personal-wise, healed up, come back stronger. We wish both of you guys the best. Another player that the Saints lost in training camp, not from injury, I guess he just thought that it was too damn hot. Was Jaden Polk. Jaden Polk. Now, Jaden Polk never even suited up, y'all, for the New Orleans Saints. If y'all remember, you may have even not remember the news when it broke. Because he's not like a huge player. He was drafted in the second round by the Patriots in 2024, but he's never really made much of his career so far, and now his career is over. But we traded him to, or the New England Patriots traded him to us last year. We gave up a 2027 sixth round pick for Jaden Polk and a 2028 seventh round pick from the Patriots coming to us. So the draft picks haven't even been officially swapped yet as far as this trade. It starts next year when it comes to the draft picks that were swapped by both teams. But the prize of the trade was, of course, Jaden Polk, and Kellen Moore apparently having a vision that, hey, I think Jaden Polk, under my tutelage and my vision, can rejuvenate his career. That's been a disappointment so far in New England. And Jaden Polk seemed very excited about being a Saint. He participated fully in OTAs this past offseason. When he talked to the media, he talked about how excited he was to be with a brand new start, how he looked forward to seeing what Kellen Moore was going to do with him in the offense. And after 2 practices, I guess the desire simmered because Jaden Polk officially retired. It was reported that he was not hurt. It was not because of injury. It said by all accounts, Jaden Polk seemed very happy. He just decided to retire. Now, I joked on Twitter, but I also say sometimes a lot of truth is said in jest. I think that maybe it's that heat. Not that the heat is the only reason that these players retire. We saw last year, Tyrann Mathieu, right before training camp, what he did. He said, you know what? I don't want to play football anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason because, they be like, God damn, it's hot. But it is hot. But I think that's a fact. I genuinely do. I think that these players, you got to be committed, man, to play football just in general, no matter what team you on, no matter what you playing at, you got to be committed. But then when you are like for a team like New Orleans, when you playing in damn near what feels like 102-degree weather in pads, bang, 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 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, bang, bang, bang. And you got to have the desire to do it. And if you're not 100% in it, some players eventually go, you know what? It's just not me anymore. It's not what I want to do in my life. I'm not saying again that that's the only reason. I don't think the only reason that Tyrann Mathieu retired was because he didn't want to, do the rigorous training camp. But I think that probably could be the breaking point when they are probably already going through stuff. They probably say, man, do I really want to go out here in this 100-degree weather and play football? And sometimes the answer is no. It was no for Tyrann Mathieu last year. It was no for Jaden Polk this year. He decided to retire. I just hope that he's happy. I hope that everything in life is going good for him. I hope that whatever his next chapter is in life, that it brings him joy and fulfillment. It's unfortunate that we never got to see what he could possibly do in black and gold. I'm sure for many people, it's unfortunate that his professional career did not lead up to what his college career could be. But we will wish and hope for the best for Jaden Polk. I have to play this commercial again right quick, y'all, and I'll be right back.
Oh, come on, man. Tackle him. You know we put your arms around him. You hold him in the tackle. Tackle him. Oh, man. I'm tired of this thing, man.
Jono, the Beavers are gonna call the cops!
Oh, God. This shit more than a game, man.
Ah, yes. We've all been there before. This shit is more than a game, man. And now, these shirts are more than a game. But did you know that this merch wasn't made only for sportswear? No sirree. This shit more than a game is a lifestyle brand. You can wear the shirts for anything, such as going shopping, working out,
This shit more than a game.
doing chores, setting the mood,
Oh, yeah, that's that thing I like.
changing a tire,
That's the life of being a father now, y'all. I have to take a phone call. But hopefully the best for Jaden Polk. And finally, y'all, now some good news, right? It wasn't all just bad news with these training camps. Jeez Louise. We had some good news, and that was Chris Olave got his brand new contract. Congratulations to Chris Olave. Chris Olave signed with the New Orleans Saints for a 4-year contract extension up to $132 million with $90 million guaranteed. Y'all, the $90 million guaranteed is the highest guaranteed money that the New Orleans Saints have ever paid out to any player. Now, you can focus on the numbers if anybody's a detractor about the contract or, critical of the contract and say, how could Chris Olave get a bigger contract in Saints history than what a Drew Brees got or what a Michael Thomas got? But they got to realize that, as long as the NFL continues to thrive business-wise, those numbers are always going to go up. In 4 years, if Jordan Tyson has the same outputting that Chris Olave has had his first few years, Jordan Tyson is going to sign the biggest Saints contract in history. That's how it's going to go. It's going to always go up until the NFL hits the plateau, which doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon. The NFL is king in the United States. Those numbers are always going to go up. So I see some fans, arguing against the contract, saying that he's not worth it the money. I saw Zay Flowers got paid more money today. He got assigned to a contract extension in Baltimore. And I don't know about y'all, but I think Chris Olave is a way better wide receiver than Zay Flowers. So it looks like that contract is a discount for the Saints, damn near, or a heck of a bargain for the New Orleans Saints. So I'm not mad at the contract at all. I'm happy for Chris Olave. I remember y'all, we was on this show last year. We were talking about should Chris Olave get traded, and I was actually one of the people saying trade Chris Olave because that's when before Tyler Sheck came in as the starting quarterback, and I'm just like, I just don't see a future for Chris Olave to thrive on this team with our quarterback position in flux and with his injury history. I say let's trade him now, try to get something for him. Well, thankfully we did not, because we saw when Tyler Sheck came in, Chris Olave had one of the best stretches of his career. And now that we have so much hype and hope for Tyler Sheck, you definitely want to give Tyler Sheck as many weapons as possible, including your homegrown weapons, which is Chris Olave. So I am very happy with the contract. I'm happy that Chris Olave was not traded. I'm happy that Chris Olave is going to be a Saint for the foreseeable future. I'm happy that he got his money. I'm happy that he did not retire when he felt like he had to consider it, given the very unfortunate injuries that he's taken in his career so far. And I am glad that he has made life-changing money for himself and his family. And he's a good guy. By all accounts, we never see him in the news for anything bad. He's always doing good in the community. I'm very happy for him. I think it's great, man. I really think it's great. He proved me wrong on many fronts last season when it comes to his value and his future. And I always tell y'all, I love being wrong when it comes to negative or not so sunshine and rainbows take about the New Orleans Saints. So I'm glad that he proved me and a lot of people wrong when it comes to his value and his ability to be a top wide receiver in the league. Now, again, to all the critics, no, he's not Michael Thomas in his prime. No, he's not even maybe Joe Horn or Marcus Coulson in his prime. But for 2026, he is our number one wide receiver. The 2026 market is the 2026 market. You can't compare him to that. You can't compare him to other Saints contracts. What you have to compare him to is what he does for us now. What he does for us now is give Tyler Sheck a bona fide number one wide receiver. He makes our offense better. And he's a good guy. So good for Chris Olave. Congratulations, Chris Olave. We're proud of you. I thank everybody in the chat. I don't see anybody who looks like they were being critical of his contract. Yeah, I see. Everybody seems happy with that. So yeah, I wish Chris Olave was watching this show. Himself, he could leave me a super chat. But I'm happy for him, man. I'm happy for him. Good for Chris Olave. He deserves it, and I think that it's very also important and vital for Tyler Sheck's improvement going forward to have someone like Chris Olave as his top wide receiver. Because again, y'all, this whole offseason has been about let's keep Tyler Sheck on a trajectory of going up. Let's kind of make sure he has as many weapons that we can give him. We saw that in the draft. We saw that with free agency. And we see that with the players that the Saints are re-signing or extending. Pro P, now we were being nice to the Falcons fans this show. We showed love to Jalen Walker. We were very kind about that, as we should be. Not saying that, you owe us for that. I mean, the man had a devastating injury today that we all feel bad about. But here you come talking shit. You see, you ruin the vibes all the time, Pro. You Falcons fans, man. Y'all never learn. Y'all never learn. But seriously, Pro P, like if you do think that Chris Olave is a gross overpay, what makes you think that? Because did you see Zay Flowers' contract today? He's making more than Chris Olave. So at this point, Chris Olave is on a bargain. Okay, if lesser wide receivers are making more money than him, then we already got Chris Olave on a pretty good deal, in my opinion. So what makes you think it's a gross overpay? Again, I understand. I know that Chris Olave is not Michael Thomas. He's not Marcus Coulson. He's not Joe Holmes. He's not like that bona fide Justin Jefferson to Jamar Chase. I get all that. But the market in 2026 is the market. So, you know, I can't hate on it. Aaron says Olave and Tyson is the new Moss and Carter. I hope that'll be amazing. if Chris Olave and John Tyson are the new Randy Moss and Chris Carter, then the Saints are going to the not gonna say Super Bowl. Even the Vikings can go to the Super Bowl, but they'll be going to the playoffs. That's for sure. They'll be going to the playoffs. Propi says no. I'm joking. Olave is good to go. AJ keeps him on lock. No problem. Okay. All right. Now, look, I do know that Olave abuses the Panthers more than the Falcons, but whatever makes you feel better, Propi. Whatever makes you feel better. So hopefully, y'all, when we come and do the show next week, we're not talking about any more injuries or people retiring. We're just talking about just the football aspect. We'll get back into more of the football talk next time on the John O'Brien Show. But there was just so much to talk about this week with Drew Brees getting his flowers Saturday and being inducted into the Hall of Fame, with Taysom officially not retiring, but telling us that he's not going to be with the Saints next season. And of course, with all of the unfortunate training camp news that we just had to talk about these days. But we're ending on a high note. Chris Olave got paid. Good for him. I'm looking forward to seeing what Chris Olave does this season, especially with a full season, knock on wood, with Titus Shook. So I appreciate you all. You guys are awesome. It feels so good, right? Just to see the Saints practicing, seeing all these teams practice. It's like, wow, football is back. And Thursday, we get the first NFL preseason game, which we all thought was going to be the Saints, but the Saints did not want to play in that game. So instead, it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals versus the Carolina Panthers, which is fine. But we get our first glimpse at Drew Brees at the Hall of Fame festivities Thursday, where they will be honoring the Hall of Fame class during the game on Thursday, and they're going to interview all of the people, including Drew Brees. So it's going to be great to see him with that. And then, of course, on Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, the NFL Hall of Fame. I keep saying NFL. It's the Pro Football. The Pro Football Hall of Fame will air on ESPN and the NFL Network. I don't know if it's airing locally on any of the local New Orleans stations. I imagine it would. I haven't checked yet, but hopefully one of the local stations got the rights to air it, so people who do not have streaming or cable or satellite can watch it. And from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time, Saturday, we'll see the Hall of Fame ceremony. My guess is that Drew is going to be the last one. I don't know how they usually do it. I mean, I think they used to do it where, I don't know. Because I'm just assuming that they do like the big name goes last, but maybe they do it in ABC order. I don't know. Like, so if they do an ABC order, then I guess Drew will go first, right? Because his last name is Brees. I don't know what they do it in. So I mean, either way, I blocked out my calendar Saturday from morning to basically afternoon because I'm watching the whole ceremony itself. But I would assume that if people just only want to watch Drew Brees' induction, I mean, I don't want to give anybody bad information, but I'm going to guess that he's the last one because, again, you usually save the best for last, the biggest name for last. But maybe they have him first, maybe they have him second, maybe they have a method that they do that I never really paid attention to. So either way, the smart thing to do would be this Saturday, block your calendar from 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time to 2 p.m. Central Time, and get ready to celebrate the greatest goddamn quarterback of all time. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be emotional time. May not be a dry eye in the house of any New Orleans home this Saturday, but we all will be knowing one thing, and that this shit is more than the game, and that Drew Brees is forever this shit more than the game certified, and now officially a Hall of Famer. Drew, we love you. We can't wait to see you honored this Saturday. You are the greatest Saint of all time, and you are this shit more than the game certified.
You know.